Hey there everyone, it's John Little here. I'm going to start a video series on the Illuminati, the history of the Illuminati. And this is going to be read from the book Fourth Reich of the Rich by Des Griffin. I've been talking about that recently in a video. And thanks to one of the listeners that hooked me up with a link to where I was able to download this PDF. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that for me. And so I've got it on my account on archive.org, and I'll share a link to it. That way this awesome book can be available for free. And it's a rare book. And, I've talked about how hard it's been trying to just find a PDF of this. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start. This is the history of the Illuminati, Part 1, from the years of 1776 to 1876. And here we go. Out of Germany was hatched a diabolical plot that has deceived untold millions of people, and which, even now, threatens to destroy Western civilization. In the years following the Reformation, a new school of thought known as German rationalism came to the forefront in circles of quote-unquote higher learning. Rationalism developed first in Germany, as that was the only country with relative freedom of religion and thought. In other countries, free thinking was forbidden, and church leaders persecuted or killed those who expressed their opinions. Scholars were freed from the stifling restrictions placed on academic pursuits during the Dark Ages, and the winds of investigation and intellectual curiosity began to rustle refreshingly through the quote-unquote hallowed halls of universities. Many were motivated to question the cherished beliefs which had come to be accepted at face value by society at large. From the beginning, Satan was frantically busy among the leadership of these quote-unquote emancipators. Having failed to keep all humanity bound with his Simonian form of quote-unquote baptized paganism, Satan, the great deceiver, found in Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, tried another ruse. These quote-unquote thinkers could clearly see that corruption and depravity had decimated the strength of the church, which had promulgated many of the ideas now proved to be totally fallacious. They saw that the church, commonly believed to be the body of Christ, held its adherents in subjection by means of fear and superstitious rituals. They falsely assumed that the myths and superstitions of the Dark Ages were based on the Bible. When they proved that these superstitions were false, they assumed, without any real proof, that they had proved that the Bible to be false. As we saw clearly demonstrated in the last chapter, that's in the last chapter of this book that's written by Des Griffin, the teachings that church were based on the Satan-inspired Babylonian mystery religion, not on the Bible. The German rationalists openly attacked all of the established beliefs with the deep-seated conviction that all religion was false, foolish, and weird. One of their leaders arrogantly announced that the turning point in history will be the moment man becomes aware that the only God of man is man himself. Another authority defined rationalism as the manner of thought by which the human reason is considered to be the only source and the only judge of all kinds of knowledge. Under an unending barrage of such quote-unquote enlightened scholarship, the quote-unquote intelligentsia of Europe were prepared by the second half of the 18th century for the advent of Illuminism, the secret society called the Illuminati. The Illuminati, what does that mean? What does that name mean to you? Most people answer that question with a blank stare, a total lack of comprehension. A few respond to that question with an ill-concealed sneer and snide remark to the effects that, "You don't believe all that garbage, do you?" Regardless of how various people may respond to the question, there is one fact of which we may be assured. The Order of the Illuminati was founded on May the 1st, 1776 by Dr. Adam Weishaupt, professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt, Bavaria. Weishaupt, born a Jew and a convert to Roman Catholicism, was a former Jesuit priest who broke with that order to form his own organization. Many otherwise educated people have assumed that just because the Illuminati is no longer an openly acknowledged organization called, say, the Council of Illuminati Affairs or Illuminist International, that it, or more correctly, the satanic-inspired philosophy behind it, is no longer a threat to Western civilization. Such an assumption would be naive to the extreme. It would be equally naive and foolish to assume that the great apostate religious movement started under Satan's direction by Simon Magus in the 33 AD has somehow folded, as if he's folded up its tents and crept away into the night. No way. On the contrary, we should expect to find Simon's operation very much to the fore in our society of today, which is so obviously deceived and is so clearly under the direction of Satan. It should go without saying that the latter-day manifestation of Satan's Simonian church wouldn't peddle its deceitful wares under the banner of, say, Simon's Spiritual Seduction Society, or the Foursquare Church of the Babylonian Mysteries, or Satan's Church of Baptized Paganism. Such names wouldn't lead to too many people to believe that such groups were truly Christian in origin. As many Bible students have recognized for hundreds of years, this church is unmistakably identified in the 17th chapter of Revelation as the Great Church. The Bible calls it the Great Whore, which has spawned numerous quote-unquote daughters, that is, offspring, and which has the inhabitants of the earth spiritually drunk with the wine of her spiritual fornication. Notice that this powerful worldwide organization has deceived and corrupted all nations. A deceived person doesn't know that he is deceived. If he was aware of the true facts, he wouldn't be deceived. A deceived person is totally sincere, but sincerely wrong. There is evidence that exists that proves that the Simonian forces have joined the Illuminists at the highest level in an unholy alliance to achieve their mutual goal, total world conquest. And this has been written about in a book called The New Montonian Church, and also The Vacant Chair by Reverend Arriaga, which was a Mexican priest. And those books are only in Spanish only. Now, it is important that we clarify the real meaning of the name of Weishaupt's secret society, the Illuminati. This is very significant. The name implies that those individuals who are members of the Illuminati are the only members of the human race who are truly enlightened and know what is all about. Weishaupt and his followers considered themselves to be the cream of the intelligentsia, the only people with the mental capacity, the knowledge, the insight, and understanding necessary to govern the world and bring it to peace. Their avowed purpose and goal was to establish the New World Order, or one world government. The name Illuminati is derived from the word Lucifer, which means bearer of the light, or a being of extraordinary brilliance, which is found in Isaiah 14:12. The reader will note the direct parallel between the presumptuous, totally vain and egotistical attitude of Weishaupt and his followers and the attitude displayed by Satan. When he and the angels under his control tried to take over the universe for their creator, or from their creator. Illuminism is clearly Satanism in one of its latter-day manifestations. Their goals are virtually identical. In fact, Satan was the first Illuminist. Public attention was first drawn to the existence of the Illuminati and their diabolical plan for world conquest as the result of a bizarre accident in 1785. History reveals that a courier for the Illuminati, named Lanz, was racing on horseback from Frankfurt to Paris, carrying documents relating to the Illuminati activities in general and specific instructions for the planned French Revolution in particular. The documents originated with the Jewish members of the Illuminati in Germany and were addressed to their Grand Master of the Grand Orient Masons in Paris. As the courier galloped through Regensburg, he was struck by lightning and killed. All of the papers he was carrying fell into the hands of the local police, who turned them over to the Bavarian government. Excuse me. The authorities ordered the police to raid the headquarters of the Illuminati, and this resulted in additional documents being captured. These revealed that the conspirators had worldwide aims. All of the carefully documented evidence was brought to the attention of the government of Britain, Germany, Austria, France, Poland, and Russia. For one reason or another, possibly a side Illuminati influence or inside Illuminati influence, they chose to turn a deaf ear to the warnings contained in these dreadful documents. 4 years later, the French Revolution exploded on the European scene in all of its hideous fury. Sir Walter Scott, in the second volume of his The Life of Napoleon, points out the events leading up to the French Revolution were all created by the money barons, the Illuminati, whose agents then led the mob in creating the famous Reign of Terror. For more detailed information on the causes behind the French Revolution, the reader should consult a book a woman by the name of Nesta Webster. Commander William Guy Carr's book, Pawns in a Game, gives the facts regarding this important period of history in digest form. The first real break, as far as inside information on the Illuminati is concerned, came when the great intellectuals, quote-unquote great intellectuals, were foolish enough to invite Professor John Robison to join the ranks. Robison, professor of natural philosophy in Edinburgh University, was Secretary General of the prestigious Royal Society in that Scottish city. He was recognized by his contemporaries, and especially by Adam Weishaupt, as one of the truly intellectuals of his day. In inviting Robison to join his conspirators, Weishaupt probably felt that the British professor would prove to his ace in the hole in expanding his organization in the British Isles. Weishaupt completely misjudged Robison's character. Instead of finding a person with billowing vanity, tremendous self-esteem, and insatiable lust for power, he discovered a man of great integrity, a man deeply concerned for the welfare of his fellow human beings and for his own country in particular. Robison was a man who couldn't be bought. Robison didn't fall for the lie that the goals of the Illuminati were pure and honorable. He kept his reactions to himself, however, and played along with the conspirators. Subsequently, he was entrusted with the top-secret Illuminati documents and was able to scrutinize the inner workings of the secret society at close range. As a result, Professor Robison wrote a startling book entitled Proofs of a Conspiracy, which was published in 1797. All of what is currently known about the Illuminati comes from Robison's book and one written by Abe Baruel in 1798 entitled Memoirs Illustrating the History of Jacobinism. Both books, although the authors were unknown to each other, give us a very clear-cut picture of the organization. Both books, quite extensively from the original writings of the Order and Sect of the Illuminati, an official report of the Bavarian government issued in 1786 following the lengthy investigation. The following facts emerge. Excuse me. Adam Weishaupt was born on the 6th of February, 1748. His early training by the Jesuits had inspired him with an immense dislike of that order. When he broke with the Jesuits, he immersed himself in the subversive and anti-Christian teachings of the French philosophers and other writers who appealed to his innate sense of superiority. The next 5 years were devoted to meditation, during which time he devised a plan to overthrow civilization and establish what he termed a New World Order. He constructed the actual machinery for revolution itself. On the 1st of May 1776, Weishaupt founded the secret society of the Illuminati, the instrument by which he planned to accomplish his goal. All of the members were required to adopt classical names. Weishaupt took the name of Spartacus, which was the leader of an insurrection of slaves in ancient Rome. His chief assistant, Herr von Zwack, counselor to the Prince von Salm, became Cato. And Baron Mengenhofen was Sila, and etc. That's, they all took on those types of names like that. The Encyclopedia Britannica, 11th edition of 1910, tells us that the order was divided into 3 main classes. The first included novices, Minervals, and lesser Illuminati. The second, consisting of Freemasons, that is, ordinary and Scottish Knights. And the third, or mystery class, comprised of 2 grades of priest, regent, and of magus, and king. And of course, the king was Weishaupt himself. The initiates who made up the outer rings were told that the great purpose of the Illuminati was to, quote, make men, the human race, without any distinction of nation, condition, or profession, one good, happy family, end quote. All initiates were required to take an oath to bind themselves to perpetual silence and unshakable loyalty and submission to the order, in the persons of my superiors, here making a faithful and complete surrender of my private judgment, my own will, and every narrow-minded employment of my own power and influence. I pledge myself to account the good of the order as my own, and am ready to serve it with my fortune, my honor, my blood. The friends and enemies of the order shall be my friends and enemies, and with respect to both I will conduct myself as directed by the order, and devote myself to its increase and promotion, and therein employ all my ability without secret reservation. And that's found written by John Robeson in Proofs of a Conspiracy. By way of warning as to the consequences of betraying the order, the initiate took part in a ceremony during which he was warned that if you are only a traitor and perjurer, learn that all our brothers are called upon to arm themselves against you. Do not hope to escape and to find a place of safety. Wherever you are, shame, remorse, and the rage of our brothers will pursue you and torment you to the innermost recesses of your entrails. And that is a quote that was recorded by Nesta Webster in her book called World Revolution. Now, by the time the member had reached the inner circle, his oath of absolute secrecy and unquestioning obedience had become deadly serious. Only at this stage was he allowed to finally see the ultimate aims of the order. That is, 1, the abolition of all order government. 2, abolition of private property. 3, abolition of all inheritance. 4, abolition of patriotism. 5, abolition of all religion. 6, abolition of the family, such as marriage, morality, and the proper education of children. And then 7, the creation of a world government. And I'll go ahead and end here, and I'll pick back up in my next video. So again, I'll leave a link to this book in the description box below. It's an awesome book, and I recommend everybody to look into it. Folks, take care. Have a good day.